Anything green?
You know what? I'm starting a podcast because we're getting into cool stuff here. So let's just go. We are
Okay.
live. Welcome to Thursday, the Ignorance is No Excuse podcast. Hold on. Instagram. Welcome our guest Robin.
Hi there.
Okay, we're live.
Again.
Hello, everybody.
Hola.
Welcome to Smoky, New Jersey. That's not my blunts that are smoking up New Jersey today. That's something Canada. I don't know what's going on, but there's a lot of smoke here in New Jersey, and it's not me.
It's the wildfires in Canada.
Yep.
Wow.
You know, a few days ago, before I left to come down here, my eyes kept burning, and I was like, "What the heck are they spraying in the air?" And then I saw, oh, it was the Canada fires, and I just saw that today. But like I was blaming, the data centers. I live on top of New York City. It was. I was just shooting it out wherever. They're trying to kill us.
I mean, I'm a New Yorker, and there's no pollution in the city, so I don't really know what you're talking about.
That's a rumor. I've been there.
Rumor.
There's a lot of people. A lot of people in.
A lot of people in, yeah. But depending on where you're at in the city. I mean, if you're uptown, like way uptown, like on 189th Street, there's not so many people.
Yeah. Where the famous Amsterdam Avenue Park is.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Are we set to go?
I'm ready to be educated myself. I don't know about y'all, but
I'm just sharing the video right now to different places.
Okay. We'll wait.
Because we have no theme song today. Normally during the theme song, I'd be doing all this. So we don't have it. I'm just jumping in because you guys are talking about cool stuff. So let's just go. Let's just do it. I love it.
Okay. So, Robin, this is your audience, your show.
Oh, no.
And
there's a lot I want to know.
So we invite you to tell us about you.
I'm so bad on the tell you about me kind of thing. I'm really good on the questions. So I like to say that I'm a veteran cosmic rocker. I'm sorry.
I was just saying. Well, I'm interrupting you to say we will interrupt you. It won't be all up to you once you get started.
Good. So I imagine we're talking about cannabis, right? That's why we're all gathered here together. We're all here today to speak for the trees, correct? And talk about the amazing healing power of cannabis. So I'm somebody who very fortunately grew up with grandmothers that used the cannabis plant. My maternal grandmother was born in Iran, and my paternal grandmother is an Eastern Band Cherokee Indian, and they both used cannabis. Like my Persian grandmother made recipes. She brought with her indica seeds all the way from Iran. She was born in the 1800s. They came to America right after World War I. And my indigenous grandmother used to go out and knock down what she called ditchweed. And later, as I grew up, I understood that it was wild hemp. And she would make this salad that was made with that ditchweed and wild dandelions and mustard greens. And she'd mix the seeds of the hemp seeds and the roots. She'd mash them down with pig fat and then mix that all into a salad. And she called it the go to bed snack. And she'd give it to all of her grandkids. And, we all be snoring within minutes. So cannabis was never something that I came to. It was something that's always been in my life since when I was 15 years old. I had a Colombian boyfriend, and his auntie showed me basically how to make RSO way back that way with rubbing alcohol, and how they did it in Colombia, a little bit different than how we do it today. So I've just always been with the plant, making medicine. I'm a practitioner. I'm a structural integration neuromuscular therapist, and my specialty is brain trauma and spinal cord injury. So obviously the cannabis plant is going to play very well into people who are living with those type of issues. And through the journey of my practice, I was also raised in the Native American Church, which is the Sacred Sacrament of Peyote. peyote, which brought my attention and awareness to mushrooms. And as I was working with people with cannabis, especially with brain trauma, I really realized that what did better was mushrooms than cannabis. Like a lot of times people had issues with the THC or getting high, but when we got them on low dose psilocybin, their brains started to fire up in a much better way, and the pain and the constant headaches and migraines abated. So that's what I've been doing with my life. And here I am today visiting with all of you who are also veteran cosmic rockers and full of knowledge.
Wow. That's quite a self-introduction. So you were having cannabis seeds and their accompanying oils in your diet?
Since I was a little girl, yeah, it wasn't anything, when my Persian grandmother was growing indica plants in the 60s and, getting her and trading with other people like jazz musicians and stuff, my older cousins were like, Nana, you're going to go to jail. And she was like, what do you mean? Who's going to arrest me for a plant? And she spoke 7 languages concurrently. So you never really knew what she was saying because it was everything from Farsi to Armenian to English to, Arabic. Like she just mixed them all together. And she just did what she wanted.
Wow.
And lo and behold, no one ever arrested her. She never got arrested or anything like that. So it's just a testament to grow your own, keep your head ducked, make your medicine, and everything will be fine no matter what the legality is.
So you were getting good essential fatty acids that way, and probably not knowing it.
No,
and I don't know. It's my understanding that the process of the process of oil that keeps it from going rancid in a week really kind of shit cans the essential fatty acids that otherwise might be present. Is that right? I mean, you would know. I don't, I got information. I don't know where it came from sometimes. So when somebody can tell me yes or no, or at least,
Well, I mean, I don't know about the fatty acid piece, but I do know that once the seeds are pressed into oil, they're pretty much indispensable and they're never going to go rancid. And that's why you can mix cannabis oil into other things like olive oil and suspend it, and it won't go rancid. It will be good for years because it's the cannabis oil that, is keeping it from turning rancid. It just gets stronger.
Yeah, well, I do know it has apparently some of the linoleic and linolenic. I guess there's 2 types in a pretty good amount, so I kind of used to like the way they tasted. You used to clean them out in a Frisbee to smoke a long time ago when everything had seeds, and I kind of liked the way they tasted a little bit, but I didn't like to swallow them. So like some people would chew sunflower seeds, I'd bite on some and take time spitting them back out, but maybe that's why I'm so healthy.
Maybe, I'm sure it is. I mean, I grew up roasting hemp seeds, that was the big thing, and also stripping the stalk to make baskets and weave, because that was part of her weaving material were the hemp stalks. So I feel really fortunate that I grew up having that opportunity and experience.
Nice.
Hi, Liz.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good to know.
So, Robin, you have an apothecary. You have a lot of things going on, right?
Oh, we have a lot of things. Yeah, I know. It's like, who cares? Yeah. So I have a product line. We have 47 products. My business is called Swan Apothecary. They're mostly recipes that were created with my grandmother. I have a signature product called Fire Kitty, which is the holy anointing oil that I'm sure everybody here knows, which is frankincense, myrrh, calendula, cinnamon, rosemary, and cannabis. And that appears in the Bible multiple times. So that's something that I've been making since literally I was probably 5, maybe younger, that I've been learning how to construct that. So, and then I was just handed the microphone for Cannabis Health Radio. So now I am the new host of Cannabis Health Radio, which is an exciting, I don't know if you guys know about it, but it's an awesome platform where patients share their stories and how they have cured themselves with either the oil that they've made or just the use of cannabis. So I'm pretty excited about entering into that space.
Sounds exciting.
When does that start?
It's already started. So
No,
it's already started.
When do you
Yeah.
start? You start.
But we've
hosting?
already started. I took possession of it. I guess I don't know how to say what the right word is. I now own the microphone
Hosting it.
or whatever. So I have started hosting. We are starting to, like, our first show will launch on the 26th of July with me as the host.
Nice.
But I mean, I've been on that platform multiple times as a guest talking, because a lot of the people that ran the show, Corey Yellen and Ian Jacobs, were dear friends of mine and clients. And Corey Yellen was basically my gatekeeper for 15 years. And I didn't have to go out into the World Wide Web and look for clients. They found her and she directed them to me. So the focus of my practice has been cancer. That's what all of the formulas that I've been developing over the last 15 years have been designed to treat, are people living with life-threatening illness like cancer. And I have a whole topical line, as well as, we have weed and gummies and all of that. But all of our product, everything that's made here, we know from seed to sell. Everyone who's touched it, our grows are up in Northern California. My uncle for a long time was my grower. He grew from the time he was 17 until he was 87. And he retired, and that was about 10 years ago. So he's like, now he just watches us from the sky. But, I've also just had that beautiful experience of knowing from seed to sell where all of my medicine comes, because it either came from my uncles or my cousins. And between the golden or the green triangle of, the Trinity Alps, the Sierra Nevadas, and Humboldt County, we were just mixing all those different grows together and then creating, a major pheno strain, because it was coming from 3 different locations. So the terpene profile was off the chain, because it's all outdoor organic flower. None of it's grown inside, because I didn't want to compound indoor flower, because I just didn't, even when it's organic and it's ingrown, a lot of people don't want to flush their plants long enough to really remove all of the chemicals, even if they're organic. And so when you take something and then you dry it and you compound it, you're compounding everything that's in that plant. So if there's still a whole bunch of bat guano or fish emulsion or whatever they're using to feed their plants, it's going to ring off the charts once it's compounded. That's my argument for, I don't want to mess with indoor grows, because nobody wants to take the time to flush their plant correctly, because you lose weight when you do that.
Were you involved in the underground growing in Humboldt County?
Those would be, yes, my family. I have family members. Yeah. My Uncle Bob went 12 feet down and put a whole bunch of, train or containers and grew underground for many, many years. I was there for camp, super fun. I've been raided by the ATF many times. Twice I've had them on my property. Twice they've, messed with my life. So I've had my bank account seized. I mean, I've had all that kind of great fun too. So, I mean, like, that's, that's sometimes way more interesting than here's how I compound flour with isolates and stuff. But yeah, so I've been all over that,
Mm-hmm. Underground. You grew underground?
He grew underground for a while when camp was really crazy. That's what they did. They used like those shipping containers. They just took them all the way down. And then, so that was like indoor, but they still grew them in dirt underground. With lights. Yeah. It's because camp, remember, they were flying over with infrared. So they had to go at least 6 feet down. So the infrared at that time couldn't pick up the grow, because that's what they were looking for, was that. The lights and all of that, and the heat off the plant. So, but I mean, Bob eventually got arrested and went to jail for a number of years, but he was a smart man and he retired in Mexico with all of his money. So we don't have to feel bad for Bob.
Okay. So do you have like a top shelf product?
I would say that all of our products,
all your stuff is top shelf.
Yeah, like everything starts with top shelf. I'm no longer processing the flour because I just can't do everything. So now we're processed in the licensed facility in California, and our growers just take everything to the processing plant, and then they and this might get me killed here, but we process through BHO because I like it better than alcohol, because that freezing of the plant, that cryonic freezing, that cold press with the gas brings all of the terpenes in a more flavonoid profile than cooking it with alcohol, basically. And it was Dr. Bob Melmead that just really dug that into my head, because I just didn't think that was a good thing to do it with gas. But labs don't lie. And when you look at the labs, the BHO products just have more flavonoids, more of a terpene profile, and more of the lower end of the cannabinoids. So that's the deal. And then we process some of it with alcohol as well, but it's in a whole big, ass rotovap kind of machine situation. And then I blend them together because I think that makes the best. The only thing that I won't use is anything that's processed by CO2, because that doesn't bring the entire plant. And I don't feel like CO2 processing is medicinal.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with you there. Yeah.
Mentioning Bob Melmead, it reminds me that he was the one person that really could put things in terms I could understand, because some of it was a little tricky, and he was really good at reading the room.
He was great. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but he knew at what level he could go if it was a smaller group or one person. So yeah, he was real good.
He was great. And he was my mentor for 10 plus years. So I feel, I've just been really fortunate to land in the right place. Like, I met Rick Simpson way back in 2005 when him and Christian Laureate first dumped Run from the Cure. I was the 50th person to see it on YouTube. So when I reached out to him, he wasn't inundated with people yet. So he was really helpful. And my husband at the time was also a generational herbalist. And so when we were visiting with him about using NAFTA to pull the plant apart, we were both like, what? And so we had to research that. And NAFTA is paint thinner. And, American paint thinner will kill you, but Canadian paint thinner you could drink. So we made our first run of RSO basically with paint thinner. And it was crazy. I mean, it was crazy. And we had one of my first clients, she cured herself from breast cancer in less than 5 grams on that stuff. So did it work, or was that an anomaly? I'm not sure, but it didn't seem right. And then we went to ISO, and my husband almost lit himself on fire twice. Then he got ISO poisoning. And then we just sat down and we were like, look, we're both herbalists. We're both generational. Cannabis has been in our life forever. Let's just go back to our roots. And that's when we started doing slow and low alcohol extraction, kind of taking the methodology of the Ming Dynasty and everything that's already been around since 600 BC, and sort of listening to what the new people who were extracting cannabis and kind of combining that and finding our own way.
Okay.
So I don't decarboxylate. I don't believe in decarboxylation before making oil. It makes no sense to me. It is completely contraindicated to burn a plant before you extract it. If you make cannabis oil correctly, that decarboxylation process is going to happen as you are burning off the rest of your alcohol. So when you decarboxylate before you even start, you've just raised it to get just super high THC, which is awesome. However, to really heal yourself from any kind of issue, you need everybody. And yeah, you need cancer. THC is really for cancer. That's its superpower. That's really what it does. It doesn't address inflammation. It doesn't address pain, or it does, in minimal amounts and better topically than internally. A lot of people have reactions to THC where they're not going to have reactions to CBN, which is just the backside of it, which is more sedative, which is more pain healing. CBG, is what's going to come after those tumors and reduce the inflammation in the cell. And then, CBD, as we all know, repairs the myelin sheath of the nerve. So I think the C family of molecules just are undersung. And we all need to speak about and visit about how really powerful they are and how much healing actually comes from them.
Interesting. I use CBN and I use CBD, but I also started using Rick Simpson oil on. I have invasive skin cancer, so a friend of mine said, "Why don't you try this?" So I was like, "Oh yeah, I have a whole box full now of syringes," and it's a slow process, and I didn't expect anything to be fast, but it's soothing. That's what it is, because how they were treating me was, I had multiple surgeries and whatnot, and I got very, very sick this past winter. And then I had to use this chemo cream that just like burned the shit out of my chest. I mean, it was horrible. It was awful. And that's when I said, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm done. And so I began the process with the RSO. And, using it topically, again, it's soothing, and, it gives me some kind of comfort and also some kind of confidence in the product, because I know what I'm doing with that.
Well, I think that's great. And I mean, if you mix it with a fat, which I'm sure you're already doing, then it becomes transdermal. And that's a wonderful way to use like high THC, because it does, as soon as it doesn't have to go through your liver to be effective. It just has to get into your blood system. So, and fat is or even sunflower lecithin, if you just add a little bit of that to it, you're going to make it more bioavailable and easier absorbed through the skin tissue. And that's, really good. That's a great way to treat skin cancers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I'm looking forward to seeing, I know I have to wait it out but to seeing, some kind of result, some kind of change, but it's too early for me yet, and I'm good with that. I can be patient, and as long as I can sleep at night and I don't feel sick, I'm good.
Exactly. And that's the healing. That's the deal. I always tell people that cannabis only works when you use it, and you have to use it over a period of time, like 6 to 9 months, to really start, because people reach out to me in the 9th hour and they're like, I'm going to do 60 grams in 60 days. And I'm like, what are you talking about? That's not going to stop, stop. And, yeah. So I believe that human beings are plants, that we're basically like plants. We're minerals and all the things that we're composed of. And once our root system is fried, we're pretty much fried. It's really impossible to save a plant once its root system is fried. And the same thing to human beings. Like cannabis oil in the 9th hour, when you're actively dying, is going to make you be more comfortable, but the chances of it reversing that situation are pretty slim. And a lot of people reach out to me and want to give me a whole bunch of money in hopes that that's true. And it's not true. And there's a lot of people out here in this internet who are selling this kind of stuff, lying to people about that. So I just feel like I need to say it every opportunity I get that is not true. This is not magic beans. This is not a magical cure. This is a plant that has been with us for always and since always, that our body is designed to absorb. So it improves every single situation, and it's not a miracle. And some people experience miracles.
Yeah, they do. But I think that's just part of, what your plan is here. There's already been a plan when we get here.
Yeah.
So exactly. we go with the plan, or we go the other way. So we have to make a choice, and hopefully we make the right choices. But it takes a lot of, research and support. The support is essential, as far as family support and what have you, your loved ones, and that's what makes it easier. It's just, it gives you a different mindset.
Yes, exactly. I mean, when your family's on board with you, but I have to say also, I have so many family members reach out and they want to get grandpa or their mom or, somebody on this, they want to tell somebody who's never used cannabis, who has only seen reefer madness, that they need to be taking 1,000 milligrams of THC a day. And that person is like, hold on, oh no. So I love the topical introduction because it does make you feel better. It is valid. And it's a great way to introduce your loved ones who are afraid of getting high to the powerful properties of cannabinoids.
Yeah. Have you ever used it for illness yourself?
Well, fortunately that I have not had any illness in my life, but I did lose 9 of my family members and 2 of my husbands. So I have been through it. My first husband died of pituitary cancer, and we didn't know that he had cancer until it was way too late. And he was trying to cure himself with peyote. That didn't work because peyote doesn't really do that. But 9 of my family members died of various things. Some of them had cancer. And that's what led me to Rick. And that's what led me, with all of my knowledge of herbs and everything, I felt completely like this is not enough. I don't have enough knowledge. I can't continue to watch this happen. And that's when Rick Simpson came into my life and Run from the Cure. And that just, I was just so fortunate to be at the right time, at the right, at the earliest, most, like just out the gate, that I just got swept into that amazing circle of knowledge with those folks like Bob Melmed and Rick and Jindrik and, Dr. Balzadar. So I'd say that that's just my good fortune.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a question. When you said CBD, everybody knows a good myelin sheath. I didn't know that till like somewhere in the last couple of weeks.
Right on.
And the thing is, I had a running deal with the National MS Society about how they actually they sent me something that they thought was to a Mid-Jersey chapter about how to handle MS patients' questions about cannabis, how to handle it. And it was how to handle, just pat it down, mitigate anything they might. And, that started me on a long journey. And so then when it was of concern to me, there wasn't anything that would repair the myelin sheath. And through my late wife, I watched multiple sclerosis do its damage, but cannabis really helped her, but not until she was really down the road pretty far with the primary progressive. And but then it amazed her neurologist so much, who was then the head of neurology at what was then Paul Kimball Hospital in Lakewood, Dr. Lombardino. And he was so incensed when she did better one day. And I told him why. I mean, that was the plan all along. And, he looked it up in the pharmacopoeia and found with the lack of such benign side effects and everything he was prescribing was so dangerous that, actually that was at the time when he was going to fill out the now abbreviated paperwork to get into the federal program. Thing is, it had been unannounced that they were not accepting new applications. But I didn't find that out till I filled in all his stuff, so it would be easy for him. I was going to take it over and go on, and then I, read the news. But anyway, with the MS Society, I backtrack sometimes now that we're over a lot of humps and go back to what was the problem then. And I want to see if they've learned, and if they haven't, I want to help try to teach them some more. I mean, we would hand that information about cannabis at their MS walks, wherever they started out. Everybody wanted it. And I need to know more about it. Repairs it, you said, I guess was my question as I'm getting away. So like, I didn't know that was possible till now. I'm a little stunned at the things I don't know, but I did say I was here to learn something at the beginning.
And none of us know everything, Jim.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody knows everything.
Well,
and you don't know what you don't know. So the product that I was just speaking about, Fire Kitty, my oldest daughter has rheumatoid arthritis, which is akin to MS, and one of my sisters has MS. And so my daughter, when she was 12 years old, she's 42 years old now, and she has 6 kids. I was told that she would be in a wheelchair by the time she was 30, and she'd never have kids. And, that RA was just the beginning of multiple sclerosis. And by the time she got there, she'd be just crippled. And I just remember that day just looking at the doctor and saying, yeah, fuck off. And I'm like, we'll never come back. And I just took my daughter out of that room at that day, and I started feeding her Fire Kitty every single day and using it topically on her. And like I said, she's 42 years old. She has 6 kids. She's got a BS in social work. And for fun, she cleans hotels because she doesn't want to go to a gym. So she gets paid for physical labor, and that's what she does it. So they don't know what they don't know as well. And my sister, who has MS, and she's had it at base, and she's been using the Fire Kitty regularly, she was losing her ability to speak and her continence. So she was a young woman in her early 40s, peeing on herself, unable to speak. We started like doing high dose CBD and Fire Kitty, and well, she is talking to everybody, and she's not wearing a diaper, and she is 64 years old now. So they don't know what they don't know, and it's our job just to show them through the proof of what it is, because we're not bringing anything to the table that hasn't been here for always and since always. Cannabis grows on every single continent in this world, and all indigenous cultures have used it in their medicine practices for always. So it's not like, oh, wow, look what we discovered. It's like, wow, how blessed are we that we've brought it back. And I also believe that cannabis regulates herself. And if we don't take care of her in the marketplace, she will disappear again. And as we come up against this next level of regulation and them trying to reschedule, and then move us all away from the plant and make it more about the pharmaceutical companies, we're going to see a lot of things change in that. And we cannot lose the backyard alchemist, the backyard grower, the kitchen witch, because these are the people that really make the powerful medicines, because they're driven by something other than pharmaceutical dollars. They're driven by their loved ones. Like I learned how to process, I learned about it my whole life, but I started to take it seriously and develop something because I had lost so many loved ones. It was, I lost 9 of my family members in a 2-year period. That was like every other month somebody was dying, and they were all really important people, like my sister, my father, my mother, my favorite cousins, my second husband. There was so much death in my life that when I leaned into the plant, it gave me a lot of room to be able to do something with that grief. So I'm happy to help you with the MS Society any way that I can, with data or knowledge, that's my passion.
Jim, why don't you tell Robin a little bit more about the Cheryl Miller project?
Oh yeah, well, the project would be that
probably give her your history, because
let me know. How are you?
If I can give you a shotgun version. We met in Oklahoma. I was on my way to California, but I didn't have enough money, and I knew somebody in Oklahoma, so I figured I'd stay for a couple of weeks. Turned out to be a few years, and along the way, we crossed paths, and she was in a wheelchair. She had MS, but she was healthy otherwise. You know what I mean? She could upper body dance, just not walk. But her son accidentally he thought a gun was loaded and faked hey, Russian roulette, and it was loaded, and he died 5 weeks before we got married. And it was then that I saw what an opportunity for MS that was, for a downhill slide. And she didn't recreationally use cannabis, marijuana back then, or pot cannabis. You're just trying to sound scientific. But and I thought, well, more for me. I'm okay with that. It wasn't like we couldn't need it socially. And the terrible irony that I didn't find out for like 6 more years. Yeah, 6 more years. It took a bad course, and it was something I read about. Journal of American Medical Association article in 1979 that marijuana may lessen MS spasticity. So I went to microfilm in the library and went and accessed it, and I couldn't believe what I was reading with it. I know simply an animal study with Lewis rats and strain 13 guinea pigs. When 95% died that had the placebo, and 98% lived, and the one that died didn't have brain lesions. I'm like, where's the studies? That started with the MS Society. And, but then, we kind of set out to tell other people when a rehab was going to kick her out at Lawrenceville Rehab, one of the best in the state, you know, and the neurologist recommended it to her. And the thing is, they only admitted and discharged on Friday. So what happened is, first rehab on Monday, and I came Monday night, they said we're going to have to release her on Friday because it takes 3 people to work with her because of the tonic spasticity. I mean, you move one arm, the other arm's going to come up, the legs, you know, all that. So I get it, you know, and tell me something I don't know. But then I said, look, you know, all the king's horses and all the king's men can't put Humpty Dumpty together again. Why is Humpty Dumpty going to try, you know, ever? You know, you can teach people motorcycle accent to get along living, breathing, and communicating through a straw, and you're going to tell her you can't help her? Then I had a scared brainstorm, and, you know, I went right back that night and found somebody that had some really good cannabis, and we made some brownies, you know. And I went the next day and said, hey, at least you can keep her comfortable. I appreciate it if she'd have a brownie for breakfast every morning and dinner, because that's like a quirk of hers. And I was praying they didn't have brownies, and of course they didn't, you know. So I said, well, I have a tray right here, you know, and they wrote it on her record. And I got a call the next day about noon, are you coming down again tonight? And I'm like, yeah, they found out, man. Oh yeah, I gave her one that night. Oh, had to hide how loose she was. You know, we didn't want the cat out of the bed. Weird, you know, to do that at a rehab. But anyway, yeah, I went and thought, can you get down before 4? Yeah, okay. You know, coincidentally, when the rehab room closes, we got down there earlier than that, and they ushered me down there, and see Cheryl trying not to smile while everybody else is looking perplexed because she, you know, like, she's not a good actor. And, you know, I came over and they showed me, they were so proud, I want to show you something. So I picked up her knee by the sweatsuit pants she had on, and did the pendulum test with the leg. You know, they just push it and it swung. Now, they knew the first time they might have tried to do that, that caused all the reaction, or spasticity disappeared. And I finally kicked in and went, oh my God, you are amazing. You're as good as Dr. Lombardino said. What did you do? And they were perplexed and said, we don't know. It just, we didn't do anything different. And, you know, we talked that night, and I said, listen, you know, we can do this quiet or we can do it loud. She said, what do you mean? Well, I wish we'd known sooner, you know. And she go, yeah, okay, I get it. We need to do it loud, you know. So that started, you know, stuff like me pushing a wheelchair across the state. And then in 98, we got arrested on purpose in Washington, eating some part of a bud in the congressman's office doorway, and they had no choice. And laying down in a congressman's doorway after that Bob Barr, because he wouldn't let everything work out in D.C., you know, and all that. So, like, she could open doors, and I could walk through, but mostly the doors were meant to be open for people who could explain things better, like you or Sue. You know, I would want somebody else to do the explanation, but we were like gatekeepers, you know. And a lot of that is lost on everybody today, because I wasn't like beating the drum, you know. I mean, it was just, it didn't occur to me. I knew people should know about it. And so now I'm concerned, you know, that I have to at least compose some of this in a form people can understand the simplicity of finding out something happened in Washington where there's a resolution and it was going to pass overwhelmingly. And we found out about it. The resolution was sense of the House of Representatives that no state should legalize marijuana medically because it's a dangerous, addictive drug, you know, Schedule 1 definition after that. And so there was a California congressman who was good in California, James Rosen, helping get state law going, and then they sent him to Washington. They were so freaking proud of him, and he turned, really quick. And yeah, I mean, I get that politically deals are being made. It wasn't personal, but yeah, man, he has some explaining to do after that. And, and that was like fairly national news for those who were looking and the rest. But it's the example, that really you can't be limited when things don't work. When you're on a path, and if don't keep doing the same things over and over and expecting to be better. That's the AA definition of whatever it is, expecting different results. So anyway, I feel like now in New Jersey, it's really, really necessary for people to know a little more about the past, what got everybody to where they are now, disappointed as can be, but that's because most people don't look in their rear view mirror for police if they have cannabis with them anymore. It doesn't matter. I'm not smoking. I'm good. I just wanted to live that long, and now I want to live longer. I want to see everybody able to grow it. It's a weed. It's a plant. And you very eloquently described how ridiculous that is before, I got to go back and I'm going to steal some of that from you.
Well, you can have all of it because I didn't make it up. So it's all yours to use.
Well, I'm going to take credit for it because I need people to think I'm
okay.
smart.
Well, I think you should, Jim, because you're a wealth of knowledge and you're one of the OG fighters. I mean, you're one of the first ones to the wall. Like y'all were bloody. Having grown up in the cannabis industry in California in the 70s, and the 80s through all of that, that's kind of what you're talking about. There was I've been pulled over by the police with 100 pounds of flour in my car. And I've had that happen multiple times in my life. And the difference between that happening in 1986 and 2026, no one can, I could get on a plane and move weed from Northern to Southern California now. So we've come a long way in the recreational conversation, but we haven't come anywhere in the medical conversation. And they pushed the recreational business so far forward. And they swallowed it in the porn industry. I don't know.
And New Jersey is a little microcosm of that because it's sort of like cannabis for medicine had approval in New Jersey of 86% in 2008 when a poll was done. 86% approved of it. The average for recreational adult use was far lower, and then adult use concerns just passed right by. That was supposed to be the bandwagon coming for patients. And it's like, here comes the bandwagon. There goes the bandwagon. What up? They didn't stop and pick up any patients to bring along with them. It's like backward, And now, I'm just at odds with how to ramp things up because you may or may not know, but I think you'll understand the egregious nature of one man, a Senate president, holding up a medical cannabis home grow of 4 adult plants and 4 mature, holding it up, not allowing it to be posted for a hearing for 4 years, 4 months, and a couple of days now. And it seems to be okay with everybody without an explanation. You would think at the federal level with shit going on, it would trickle down to, hey, it's like that here now. It's sort of like, where's the Scutari files? Why won't he say why? And now, we got a governor who made all sorts of things and nice before the election, and she's not responding to how do you feel about this going on with medical cannabis. She said she supported home grow for adults to certain extents, So anyway, that wouldn't have happened if Cheryl was here. It wouldn't have happened. It just wouldn't. And I guess that bothers me because, I did everything I did about her because I was really, really scared. You know, I'm not that kind of scared, and I got comparatively lazy. I know, and no, Jim, you're not lazy. You know, I am compared to that. You know, I didn't just wake up and find out this bill has been stalled day by day. But that's why I align myself very closely with Sativa Cross now, rather than the Coalition for Medical Marijuana New Jersey, a 501c3 nonprofit since 2003. But slow to act, too much by committee, and they don't think we need to stir things up with the Senate president because we need him to get anything done. I'm trying real hard not to react like I normally do when I say things like that here. My hands start moving around, so I'm clenching them between my knees right now because my compatriots here make fun of me respectfully and correctly. That I do.
Are you Italian? Do you need to wave your arms when you talk? It's passion, Jim. That's passion.
Well,
I just have to say,
at least I don't express myself and
at least your hands are not tiny, okay? And thank you to Tommy Lyons, who's posting all this great stuff in the comments. I appreciate whoever he is telling us he's posted a bunch of nice stuff around the MS stuff in that.
So great with he problem. Okay, what's the problem? Let's go through this. He's very
he's our fact checker. He's obviously the fact checker.
I'm going kind of up and down and sideways, and he's like trying to keep on a straight path. And
well, I think that you have a lifetime of experience, Jim, and I don't know if maybe your medicine or your job is to get up in front of the Senate and wave your fist. You know, I mean, the knowledge that you bring to the table just from your life experience is what really, I mean, like Tommy looks like he's in his 30s, okay? And everybody on this call is not. So, you know, I see that what we need to really do is get our kids really inspired about cannabis as medicine, because unfortunately they got sucked up into recreational cannabis, and now we have CHR. And the only reason why we have that allergy to cannabis is because of vape pens. So again, this goes back to just diminishing the plant to one single molecule to get as high as you possibly can. That's not the conversation of cannabis as medicine. The conversation of cannabis as medicine is the whole plant, using the whole thing. So I think that where you're at is really a beautiful place, Jim. You have a lot to share, a lot of people, and that's how you move it forward, is you inspire the Tommies of the world, or, you know, the people that are in their 30s and 40s who have that energy to do that fight that you've already done.
Well, I really appreciate everything you just said. Lefty had this great idea, and Sativa Cross got a 10-foot blow-up rat, because in New Jersey everybody knows the definition of a rat: somebody turns on your own, stab you in the back, turn you whatever. That's our Senate president. Same man that got 6 plants per patient passed on the full Florida Senate when he was getting the original bill passed, and that got optioned out, and an ultimatum from the Assembly version. It wasn't his fault. He was pissed off then. Now he's a rat. But a lot of people that I advocate alongside of, we disagree on the value of who we call Senate President Rattari. It's the name we give the giant rat, and he holds signs like sorry would hold, you know, that kind of stuff. And I've taken some heat more behind the scenes than anywhere else about this, you know, and actually that's helping get me back, you know.
Good. I'm glad that you like to be lit on fire, because that's what your knowledge is doing, is it's lighting on people on fire to make a movement. And, you know, when you talk about legislation and what you're allowed to do, I just always think of my grandmother, Navart, and her literally sowing the seeds, not just cannabis seeds, but whatever she wanted to grow, into her clothing so she didn't lose them, because she walked across the continent. My grandmother walked from Persia to Europe, got on a boat with 3 kids and a baby in her belly, with all of her seeds sewn into her clothing. So that's kind of where we're at right now, is that we are carrying the seeds. We're carrying the seeds to pass to the next generation, and they need to pick it up. They need to do the hard work. They need to do the fight. And we don't need to worry about what our government is doing, because just watch the news for 5 minutes and you'll lose your mind. Our government is out of control right now.
Oh, yes. Yes.
What we've started up in, I live in Bergen County, New Jersey, and I'm right outside of New York City, right by the bridge. So what we've begun, and this has been an ongoing process, of course, to be able to grab the youth and bring them in. So it is beneficial to us to educate the youth, because they don't know enough. They seem to know more about getting high, just like we did when we were young, and but they don't understand the medicine part of it, which is not how we were raised. We were raised to somehow get there and understand what the medical value is of cannabis and to be able to foster that. So what myself and a couple of the other nurses that I work with on the network, what we've done is we have weekly meetings with whatever youth we can capture, whoever they bring, I have to flyer the community and blah, 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 and do all that. But it's to bring them with us, so that they have the same stamina that we had in the 70s, because they're afraid, they're scared, they grew up with mass surveillance. They grew up during COVID, that's another thing that kind of like set everybody off, and they don't recognize the strength that they have, but they have it. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to foster that. And the rest of it will, I don't know, it's going to happen. Like, I don't know what your, I think I know what your opinion is of this new proposal with the rescheduling and what have you. But we're from the mindset of no, deschedule. Okay. Let's just stop this stuff. This is nonsense already, and it's tiresome. It's getting tiring. It's
it may get way more tiresome even though going to descheduling, because a lay person, which I'm not, would want to know if there was any way, and you can't with what history's taught us, even begin to have any kind of valid extrapolation of to how long that would take, and whether or not it would springboard off of Schedule 3 to something, I don't know. It's just that I don't know. I'm not a tireless advocate. I'm tired, and it just feels like it could take another 20, 30 years.
Well, it might, and it's not your job to carry the cross all the way to the finish line. It's your job to share your experience and to show up for yourself first and foremost, Jim, and just share the stories like you shared with me, because that's where the real inspiration comes from.
There's also something, I'm going to interrupt. There's something very important too, is that I got to know where I'm going to have any kind of effect as far as rescheduling 0.00. There's probably a one down there somewhere. Getting this bill heard earlier with me, as opposed to if I just backed off right now. Unfortunately, I think I can have quite an effect in that area, because I know how far I am willing to go, and we're getting real near that. So I have to stick it out for that. But the minute that bill is heard in committee, I'm taking all your advice, because I've already got most of it internalized, and that's what I'm going to do. What I need to do that nobody else can do is.
When you get tired, just think of Bernie Sanders, and I don't care if you like him or you don't like him. He's 102 years old. He is showing up and showing up and showing up. So he is our guiding light, that we are never too old to make impact. And you never know who's going to hear you, Jim. You have no idea who's listening to this podcast right now. You have no idea where your words are landing. And that's not really, you don't have to worry about that. You just need to keep doing your good work, showing up in all the places that you feel drawn to show up. And just know that those people who support that, they're going to naturally appear. Like the creator's going to support your good work. You don't need to worry about who's coming and who's listening. If you just show up and do the work, the creator shows up. God shows up and says, okay, let me help you across this river.
Showing up is always it. And then along those lines, as I was discussing last week, I think it was, or the week before, the podcast we had on July 10th, that we have a fourth Thursday of the month podcast from the State House every month until Thanksgiving. And that's gone on 12 years, and it was more often than that. But September 25th, the New Jersey summer vacation will be over, and legislators will be back. And it's the first half of a 2-year session, so there's still time left, And in New Jersey, the best I've been able to do or attend of anybody else's for medical cannabis concerns was 49 people, not even 50. And that was in 2008 when MS patient John Wilson was arrested for growing 17 plants. He threw seeds, 17 plants grew. He wasn't cultivating, and he got caught, and he was in trial in Somerset County. And I beat the drum for that. I made signs like for everybody that might come, and I just got obsessed with it. And 49 people were there. Haven't come to that yet since. And I'm not counting stuff like on 420, Weedman's Parade down State Street, and the state police say you can smoke across the street in the War Memorial where the statues are, not the auditorium, for like 20 or 30 minutes, and we'll let you know when you're done. All right, so 200-300 people would be doing that, but that was before fun. Before patients showing up, we're going to have to get at least 50 people there if I'm going to continue being an advocate. And
let me just say this too, is that information moves very different now than it did 20 years ago. So you might not have 50 warm bodies standing next to you holding a sign, but you don't know how many hundreds of people are sitting in their living room listening to what you're saying, and will do an action like sending an email to their senator or congressman. So maybe
that won't work. Not New Jersey. I'm sorry, it won't work sending that. I mean, the Senate president has not let bills be posted that had as many as 26 co-sponsors out of 40 senators for an issue like smoking, where something about smoking in casinos, and the casino industry didn't want it, so he didn't do it. I'm just saying that I'm saying everything you've said and everything I might think says that if I made that public and said, if we can't get 50 people out there to tell me stay, I'm not gonna. And I hope that people will go, oh, now it's not a tough gig. You get there, you bring a tent top with whatever, we've had the hippie tribe there having actually sales on I'm gonna make that a call to arms. I got better things to do, I feel that way. I'm tired, but I want to get to what you're talking about, and the way I do that is when I realize I can't really push the needle that much. I'm not that kind of needed anymore. I didn't know anybody else in New Jersey for 7 years that would do what we were doing. That's so long to not hear the call of another bird of your feather. And now you're right, it's different, and they are there, and stuff is moving forward with or without me. So, then I can do what I need to do now, is sort of spread the word about a person. If Cheryl can do it, you can do it. Pretty much that, because nobody else can do it. And I do have plans to say the one where got arrested for that congressman's office. She said she wanted to let's go to Washington and be arrested there, because we tried to get arrested here but couldn't, because they were smart enough not to arrest the best example we had, getting credit for that. And but to do that, in the span of 6 days, be there getting arrested from the initial, hey, why don't we? You know, the lightning speed. And she saw the thing about Rosa Parks, and she just thought it would be cool to do something like that, you know. And hey, you know, I'm in. That's certainly better than thinking that you can't do anything about MS. You can help other people, and she knew that. So, yeah, if I can get at least 5 of those people on a StreamYard meeting with Lefty being so kind as to be able to do that for me. And Facebook, I can be in touch with them, and it doesn't even have to be all at once, but I want to relive that to get quotes from people to remind me of stuff I might not have seen or forget. I want to get all of that because I don't want to write about what happened or tell people because they're going to think, oh, that he's embellishing or exaggerating. I'm not. I got to tone shit down because I know they won't believe certain things. And that is a real injustice to what really happened. So to have other people there, you know, I mean, who's going to believe when they 420, when we were called back to court, and then they say, yeah, there's no charges you can go home. And everybody thought that was great. And you heard one voice, me, go, no! And everybody shut up. It was an open sort of court with other people waiting in a really large room in the Hoover thing and something somewhere in Washington. It was like, yeah, if you want to appeal from there, you go to the Supreme Court. So we were in pretty good position to have some fun. So we thought. And then I refused to leave. You know, I explained, no. You knew that before we came down here, and it's tough getting down. It's going to hurt more going back. Maybe we're not going to leave till you do charge us, you know. And Cheryl didn't say much, and when she did, she didn't say it loud. But with the hushed crowd, there's, you know, maybe we will. I mean, maybe we won't, you know, leave. And then the magistrate, the judge, kind of looked down at Cheryl because it was like up at this more grand seat, and you know, it was surrounded by seats too. It wasn't like, you know, it was a really weird setup. A lot of people there too. And then she looked down at Cheryl and said, "But if you don't agree to leave, I'm going to have you placed under arrest for contempt of court." And she got it. Cheryl said, "But you won't charge me, will you?" You know, I mean, she's like Edith Bunker and All in the Family, you know, simple but straight shooting. And that was it, man. I mean, I just saw a judge who sees shit coming from everywhere. You know, it's hard to get by, you know. And to see Cheryl get right underneath the net, you know, like that, it was really good. And then so I said, yes, I'm sure the court has heard these words before, but not in this particular order. Today is your lucky day. We've agreed to show mercy upon the court. We'll leave. You know, I mean, I don't know whoever got to say that before. Who's going to believe that, right? If I tell somebody that, they're not going to believe all that's true. But there was other people there, so I want to relive it on a. Well, it would be a good podcast too. You know?
Kind of like now.
Well, then we get to work on just a story, not a book, but one good one.
Robin,
Okay.
What's your favorite munchie food?
Munchy food as in something that's infused or just the stuff I like to eat?
Both, since you asked.
Well, I don't really eat. I don't really eat cannabis because I am a cannabis plant, and I'm so saturated that I basically like don't even need to eat it because I think I'm always high. But I love food. I mean, I love all food. I love to munch on vegetables and popcorn, and my favorite food is a hot dog. And I know that the man that I marry next will take me to Costco for a hot dog, and that I'll know that he's my soulmate.
I love that.
I've been making edibles are a really interesting thing since we're talking about them, how people, they're really hit and miss. And something I don't like about the dispensary is that most of them are not infused. Most of them are sprayed with a cannabis oil. So there's a lot of inconsistency. Like one gummy is going to knock you on your ass and you're not going to be able to get up. And another one, you're not going to feel anything. So we've taken great care to make sure that everything that we have in our store is infused. And that's what I'd like to encourage other people. When you're shopping in the dispensaries, ask the people, was this sprayed or was it infused? And I promise you, they're going to look at you like you just asked them in Swahili what the temperature of the day was. They're not going to understand the question, but you need to educate yourself as a consumer and read about the brands that you're buying.
Yeah, that's good advice.
That's really interesting because I have a problem with edibles. I think it's because I don't have a gallbladder. And I can take 60, 100 milligrams and it doesn't barely.
But can you use
me.
a tincture? But Liz, when you use an infusion or a tincture that you just drop into your mouth and you break your blood-brain barrier that way, I'm sure you don't have the same experience you do with an edible, because when you eat something, it has to go into your stomach, break down through the stomach acids, go through your liver.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother dog and pony show, but when you can just drop an infusion into your mouth and mix it with your blood-brain barrier, it's going to boom. Mm-hmm. Can I answer this question that's coming up? Our store is online. It's swanapothecary.com. And for this crowd, it's swanapothecary.com/medicinals. Or our full store that has cannabis and mushrooms on it is fbttstore.com. And the password is Firebird, all lowercase. So there. Just to make it really hard, we have multiple websites because, I've never really been concerned about the law because I just don't care. And I always say that I'm just too stupid to be scared. I just do what I want and just have always been that way. And I really believe that if you are coming from a place of sincerity and desire to help others, then your pathway is cleared for you. But if you're out there just trying to rip everyone off and just make a buck, this plant says, oh no, that ain't going to happen. And she's going to take your ass down. So cannabis is the ultimate regulator.
I agree 100%, 100%. And it's all about your passion and it's all about education. That's what I'm based on, all about education and everybody, not just the youth. And I think we need to do it in a grassroots kind of movement where we are actually out with the people.
To do that education, that's my segue into something I made a note right in the beginning. I like to ask people that put things in understandable form, like Bob Melmead and then others along the way, about the endocannabinoid system. I maintain that it would be real easy to be the smartest person in almost any room about that with very little information about it. Because most people, there's receptor cups that you want, whatever, giving imagery that whatever. But it has been explained to me good, but differently by other people. So if you wanted to tell somebody, that knew a bit about it, about cannabis and all, just how do you explain what that is to somebody at a not dumbass level, a rudimentary level, somebody that does want to understand about it, like it's like the air traffic control for the rest of the systems or something like that. Okay, well, people understand that. So even basing it on that, what would you add that would give people an image or an idea that
it feeds the central nervous system? The endocannabinoid system feeds our central nervous system. That's how it's like here's your nervous system and here's the endocannabinoid system. So it's basically covering our whole entire nervous system. And when we ingest cannabinoids, they seep into the endocannabinoid system, and that in turn feeds our central nervous system. And that's where that restoration that I'm talking about comes from.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. And the receptor, I mean, we hear about the cannabinoid receptors. That's where they.
Well, that's just so you can sound really smart. Well, your CB1 and 2 receptors, which are above your head. But the truth is that there are receptors all over your body, period. They are everywhere. They are not just right here in your pituitary, although that is where two of the main ones are. So, actually, we make a nasal spray that's been phenomenal for people with brain cancer. And the reason why is because it goes straight up the nose, right into the 1 and 2 receptors. And that just shoots through the whole blood-brain barrier and helps the entire body. So if you really want to use cannabis, snort it.
And I don't
Good luck.
I don't say that I want to be the smartest person in the room. I like that. The smartest person in the room about it. Like to pat myself on the back among advocates. I'm talking about when you're on the other side of something with somebody and they're bashing cannabis and offering misinformation. Simply asking, have you ever heard of the endocannabinoid system? You beg for somebody to go, yeah, okay. I'm still going to be the smartest person in the room just saying what you said and the traffic. That to me, when I first heard about it, years, I guess, was that mid-1990s? I don't think I heard about it till 10 years later at the earliest. Wow. And, it amazed me because that really legitimized every scientific thing I wanted to allude to. And, yeah, damn right I can call it cannabis. It's not just to make it sound legitimate, So, to me, it's, as an advocate, I'd hate for it to be the other way around and the subject comes up and I'm not at least a little bit fluent in some part of it, because that then kind of takes away from other things I say, I think,
I don't think so, Jim. I think that you don't need to be a wealth of knowledge on every single thing in the world. I think your lived experience far outweighs any book knowledge. And that is where people really connect. They connect to your stories. Like you say, no one's going to believe these stories. It doesn't matter if they believe them or not. They're lived experience. And when you tell them, they can feel them. You could feel your experience. And that's what heals people. And that's what inspires people is lived experience. I went to college in Israel. So I was always on the hunt for weed. I mean, my whole life I've been on a hunt for weed. And this was 1986. And I was going to school in Jerusalem, but Raphael was at the Technion in Tel Aviv. And I had, there was somebody that I went to school with who was his nephew. And he was like, well, my uncle has weed because he's growing it at the Technion. Let's go get some. So this is how life works. Here I am, I'm 21 years old and I'm sitting with Raphael Meshulam and I'm smoking his weed and he's downloading the endocannabinoid system. And I'm like, I don't care. Can I smoke that weed? Like, can we just get over the whole conversation about this flower? And can you just pass me that blunt? Can I just smoke that? And it was amazing because back then, they were growing weed in Israel. They were growing cannabis indoors, that he was pulling those molecules apart. He had been in research at that point for about 20 years. And the way that he came to cannabis and the endocannabinoid system was through berries, because they're very high in endocannabinoids. They're very high. They feed our endocannabinoid system, raspberries, strawberries, blackberries, blueberries, all the berries do. And so by traveling through his research of that family of fruit, it brought him to another fruit-bearing plant, the cannabis plant. And through that's how he discovered the whole endocannabinoid system and that cannabis feeds it the most.
Would you be my cannabis therapist?
I'll be your buddy, Jim. I think you're pretty amazing. I think I'm the winner in the relationship for sure. Yeah. So yes,
you've had a settling influence on me slightly here, so I thought I'd ask. It never hurt.
Tommy, you look like you have some questions for Robin.
I'm just enjoying listening to you guys, Jim. As I put in the comments earlier, and I don't know if you guys probably heard me say this before, but Jim has guided me on what cannabis is, going in the opposite direction of recreational. He taught me back in 2016, I think we started talking, maybe 15. Mm-hmm. And that's when I learned that cannabis is medicine and something to be enjoyed, but it's personal and you see it helps people. So that's where Jim opened up my eyes to being able to help people out there and truly try to understand this as medicine and show the world that it is medicine versus them thinking it's the devil's lettuce, you know?
Yeah, man. And, so Robin has full understanding. This would be about post-traumatic stress, which is for a while right at the top of my list to get me to do what I needed to do. Back around then, that's when I was, that was just after I was delivering letters to Washington from people with PTSD who were military combat veterans. I would deliver their mail with an exclamation point and send them back the result. But so
Hey, Jim, while you're on that,
you've done good. I mean, it's a wavelength, but your wavelength is going up the whole time. And he's a published author now, self-published, but a bastard's mind, So yeah.
Thank you, Jim. When you mention that with the veterans with PTSD coming back, you guys know my transition out of the military was not easy. And what you taught me, I was able to relay to other veterans going through things that were similar to this. I got my medical card because of your guys' advocacy. When I got out of the military, you guys fought for veterans suffering post-traumatic stress disorder, trying to help veterans get their cards. And you guys are the reason I got my card in Jersey. Yeah. And you guys are the reason I've been able to speak up and try to have people listen, because your message is correct. And that's what just hits me. It's like, there are people who understand. There are people who get it. I'm not the only one. And the strength in numbers that you guys have built is like a core. And the Sativa Cross has just been everything to me. So, I don't want to overglaze it, but
he sounds a little bit like
nice, Tommy.
He does. He sounds a little bit like Robin there. I'm starting to think maybe I should seek others' advice more often than I do.
Yeah, I think you should get out of your own head. It's a very bad neighborhood. And as far as PTSD, one of the things that I've seen, like I said earlier, that really treats it better than cannabis is psilocybin. Hands down, my vets and people who have had, compounded PTSD do 1,000 times better on low dose psilocybin. And I will happily send you some, Jim, so you can start working with it, because it's very helpful. It just calms that noise down in a way that cannabis doesn't, because cannabis works with our nervous system and mushrooms work with our cerebral system.
Well, I did sample some microdose that was given to me by George Rotom, a person you can trust, and makes all his own oils and stuff, and also helping my brother with his cancer. But I found what I really did like was, I didn't feel it like some people say, I don't feel edibles, and then they start doing stuff with gusto they never had gusto with before. And you don't feel, sure you do. You just don't even know you feel. I mean, it is working. And it somehow cleared up static. My mind, the neighborhood is not a good neighborhood, except for it has a carnival. It's almost always going, and sometimes the carnival has the words I need to form sentences, and I can pick them out, or it's going a little too fast or a little too slow. But with the microdose, my thought pattern clear. I could feel the less static. I mean, a television being on in the other room when I'm doing something, I feel it lowers the level of. And, I can do it. I mean, if I want to walk it through, phone it in or whatever the expression is. But,
hey, Jim. Yeah. So there's an organization here in Maryland called VI22. And they are all about psychedelics and how there are opportunities for them to help veterans with PTSD. Like you guys mentioned, microdose. I mean, they're starting to be able to extract and measure the amounts of psilocin and psilocybin inside of that. And Robin, you had mentioned earlier, you guys were talking about a sniffable cannabis, right? They have something that I wouldn't necessarily trust, but they call them cannabumps. And what they did was take THC isolate that was extracted via machine with
hexane.
Yep. And then they do some kind of nanotechnology, I believe, and it becomes.
That's what we do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. So you know what I'm talking about. And then once it's water soluble, people can consume it, and it will get sucked into the membranes. So that was something crazy. Does that? What have you heard about that? If you don't mind me asking.
I mean, I nanonize everything that we make. We have a nanonizer. And I love saying that word because I feel like I'm on the Jetsons. I'm like, I get to use the nanonizer today. So it's my most favorite thing in my lab is the nanonizer, because it breaks apart the molecules and that makes it absorb in your body. I think that's great. And also isolates are now being pulled to be water soluble. So the whole, like way back, there was a time where I was super anti-isolate, like, oh, those are bad and you don't just need one molecule. But as a formulator, they're really powerful, because if I want to make a formulation that has a certain amount of milligrams per gram of something and I use an isolate, I could get there, as opposed to like I would have to extract 38 pounds of flour to get, an ounce of CBG. So, let those guys do it. And then the hexane is super safe. There's nothing wrong with it. I think that anything that's nanonized is awesome and we absorb it easier. And I think if you are having problems with absorption, then sunflower lecithin is an easy way to break down the fat of cannabis oil. And you could, put that in your mix. And if you're making your own edibles, I highly suggest that you break your concentrate down with a fat and the sunflower lecithin before you add it to whatever you're making, because it's going to distribute more evenly and you're going to have a better experience.
Hey, Robin, you had mentioned putting the lecithin in there, and you had mentioned some kind. There was an MCT that you mentioned earlier, a medium chain triglyceride, right? And there are various ones of those that you can mix with the lecithin when you're putting your cannabis through its procedure. What was it? Not cocoa butter, some kind of oil that you had mentioned. Which one? What is it?
The only oil that I use, so I think you have me confused with somebody else, because I would never say use an MCT oil. I'm not a fan of it. So we use hemp seed oil.
Oh, I didn't say that you said that. That's
no, yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know. I'm not an MCT oil fan. I think it goes rancid really quickly. We do our best to use hemp seed oil because I just want to double down on any kind of, cannabinoid that I can, and olive oil. So I can't answer your question because I don't know.
No, you did answer my question, because I don't know. That's why I asked Robin, because I'm trying to learn just as much as everybody else. This is years now since I even looked into making any kind of edibles. So you just cleared something up for me that I didn't know. So I appreciate it.
Well, I'm glad, because I know a lot of people, Tommy. So that's great.
Lefty, do you have another question for Robin?
Yes. The first time you smoked cannabis, how old were you, and what was your experience like?
Everybody gets these questions.
Oh, I love this question because I remember it completely. So because I've been weighing out 5-finger lids for my cousins and my family, my brothers, I was really I had never really smoked it. I was 13 years old the first time I smoked weed, and I was very excited about it. And it was like Mexican ditch weed, I'm sure. That's what it was. But I mean, I was in it to win it from the get. And I remember I was with my cousins and I came in the house and my mom looked at me and goes, "You've been smoking marijuana." I was like, "No, I haven't, Mom." She was like, funny. "Yes, you have." So, and that was it. I'm not a doctor because I wanted to smoke weed. I have enough education to wallpaper a bathroom. I have a PhD, but I would not go down any avenue that would not allow me to smoke weed. So smoking flower is the most, I love smoking flower. I hope that I never have to stop, because it's just such amazing. It's so amazing and so beautiful.
I think it's our generation. I really do.
Robin, you're also involved with a church, right?
Well, I mentioned the Native American church, which is how I grew up. So I'm involved with that church, but that's a tribal organization that has, that's not whatever. But I do have a master's in theology, and I am an ordained minister, and that's in the Church of Religious Science. So that's Ernest Holmes. Sure if you guys are familiar with him, but it's science of the mind, not Christian Science. So it's basically that we're creating our own reality, and that we are a cell in the mind of God. And as we evolve, so does the Creator. We're not separate in any way. We're just one cell in that omnipotent, omnipresent force.
I like that.
Sorry.
Love that. Thank you for sharing that, Robin.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Lefty.
The Bible talks about cannabis throughout the entire script. It's called
It
Leaves
does.
of Healing in Revelation, Leaves of Healing in I think it's Ezekiel, Ephesians maybe. The word cannabosum is the word there that's lost in translation. It's
Ozone?
cannabosum, Kanehbosm,
Yeah.
and it's basically a reeded plant, a plant with that comes from a reed. So that could be sugar cane. It could be calamus, which the Bible says it's calamus. I think it's cannabis because you got people like Isaiah yelling, "Where's my calamus?" Nobody yells about their calamus. I yell about my cannabis. Where's my cannabis? That's
That's
me.
a good interpretation.
So yeah, cannabis is throughout the Bible. It talks about cannabis oil. The recipe for cannabis oil has like 3 pounds of hashish in it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, living in the Middle East, it was really like, because they're the only actual flower cannabis that I encountered was at Raphael's, like grow and lab in the Technion. Everybody else in the country had hash. And at that point I had never smoked hash. And, I was happy to smoke it but I was still sad that there was no cannabis. And it's why I didn't stay in Israel, because I was like, this is bullshit. I need to go back home where there's flowers.
Okay. I have to sign off because I'm out of state. I'm in Florida right now and I'm losing power. I'm watching my power go out.
Oh, wow.
So, Robin, I will be in touch with you.
Thank you for inviting me.
And thank you for coming. And
thank you.
Yeah.
This is a very informative show.
Yeah.
Enjoy Florida.
Thank you. It's very hot.
Very hot.
It's just like being in Jersey. Okay.
But worse.
Yeah. No, not really. Not more. Okay. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Robin, I real quick wanted to look you up. I don't really research people. I like to know which direction, and right away it's like, I don't have to look up anything, but Project Walk.
Project Walk is my
yeah,
favorite.
that interests, I think that would interest Lefty as well. Could you?
So Project Walk is an organization that gets people with spinal cord injury and brain trauma who are told that they're going to be paraplegics or quadriplegics up and walking through exercise and therapy. It's a really successful program. There's actually one in Florida as well. And I think there's a couple other ones in the country. So I had the unique pleasure and total honor of working with Project Walk for quite a while. And I developed a bodywork modality for people who are, quads and paraplegics. And cannabis oil was 100%. Like way back when you couldn't talk about cannabis oil, I used to just lie and tell people it was mugwort. I worked in the NFL for a very long time, and those guys they'd fail drug tests, but you don't fail anything topically because, again, it doesn't cross your liver, so it doesn't enter your blood system. And when California became legal and I was working on some of my ball players, and I was able to tell them about the products I was making, one of them was like, all this time we thought it was you, and it's the stuff you make. And I was like, exactly. It's got nothing to do with me. It's the product. So it was great working with Project Walk because being able to use manipulation, massage, and like heavily rich cannabis oil, like you were speaking about your friend Cheryl, you could really get that modality in people. You could get mobility in people who were just like this. And for them to be able to open up gives them just in their brain the belief that they're going to get better, that they're going to be able to walk. And they do.
Wow, sometimes, of course, everything trips me into relating to something else about that. But the one interesting account I read exactly as to what you were just saying was a guy who had, I believe it was MS, had a couple of his college buddies over, and they still smoked pot and he hadn't. So they were over at his house. And they spend the evening smoking. And then when it came time to go, he stood up without thinking. In other words, he was loose enough. It wasn't like he just couldn't do that otherwise. And then when they all went, oh, and he realized he kind of fell back down into the couch he was sitting on. He didn't continue standing, but just that showed him something, and changed his life forever following that path of he got instant gratification, so to speak, with that. But yeah, when you said that, it's sort of like the belief system is an amazing thing as an adjunct medicine, and I understand. When I say I understand, it means I'm not sure. I hear from other people that the figure I remember, and I remember numbers pretty good. I love numbers. Is 21%, I believe it was, better outcomes who know they were being prayed for, especially from a lot of people. And then people would say, well, that proves the power of prayer. And in a very main respect, it does. Not by cause and effect specifically, but, if you're going to get that. And also, just what you said, believing you're going to get better, believing you can. It's the belief system, whether it's prayer and knowing you're praying and believing in your own prayers, or anything else, that gets you to understand that. So, that's, I just get lost with how wrong it is that such a plant that I started hearing 25 years ago, 30, oh, you think it helps everything or cures everything. And I don't ever call it a cure, almost ever. But it's hard now to, say like, yeah, you say it like it's a bad thing. It's almost hard, I guess, for some people to understand how that could possibly be, given the guidance they were given for the last 50 years. Every now and then I do watch Reefer Madness. It's not too hard to get that. It does make me laugh, and because how far we have come. And I think people ought to really also examine that, because it's never going to be perfect, and because it's so important to help so many people. I understand impatience. I'm impatient as well. How can you not be? But it's going to happen. It does happen, and I don't know. I feel more like better after tonight's podcast, thinking I'm going to be able to probably do my best work with less effort of anything I've ever.
Yes, because the higher the truth, the simpler the action. So you do not need to go out there and, pound the sand. And, when people are praying for you, that is a collective energy that is being focused somewhere. So whenever we harness our collective intelligence, it works. It works on what we're focused on. And it works in the good or the bad. Like people, I always think about this, like when I was in the NFL, both teams were like always praying, like, let me win, God. God doesn't care whether you win the football game. He really doesn't care, right? But what that prayer does is it got that team together, working as one cohesive unit. And I traveled with rock bands as well as a body worker way back in the 90s and the 80s. And one of the bands I went out with was Def Leppard. And if you know anything about the band, they went from being raucous hellions, where their drummer lost his arm with, a Motley Crue, a member of Motley Crue out, just being high and reckless. And they still went on tour. So I went on 2 different tours with them. The first one when they were hellions, and the second one after that, he had that accident and repaired, and was a drummer, a one-armed drummer, amazing human being. They all brought their wives on the second tour, and they all had a little prayer circle before they went on stage. And the difference in the times, the little short times I was with them was astronomical, night and day. When they had focused themselves together as a unit and got rid of all of the shenanigans, and they produced better shows. They were more rested. They traveled better, and the tour did not take the same kind of they didn't take the same kind of beating from the tour that they had before. So our minds are our most powerful organ, and the way that we harness them is the way that we feel them, because we're not separate. We're mind, body, spirit.
Have you ever heard of, I took a course at the time in Oklahoma. It was called the Silva Method of Mind Control. I think they call it the Silva Method. And first thing I took issue with, why do you call it the Silva Method of Mind Control? It's controlling your own mind and all that. And he had a good answer and all. But it really dealt with the power of the mind, And I always loved, I went, because to me it's interesting, it was like in 1983, it was $300 for a Saturday, Sunday, and the next Saturday and Sunday, 8 hours a day of, learning about this. And then how do you get somebody interested in it though? Well, they did a couple of, not parlor tricks, but it would be, okay, there's an energy running up your spine that if you, and they'd say the circle, not the almond, 2 fingers, not one, and they had somebody like, big strong guy first and then me second, I want to do it twice. And he says, stand there like this. So he stands out there like that. And then they had actually the little old lady of the group, who's younger enough, but this was a long time ago, come up and then stand at arm's length with no leverage and push it down. Of course, it doesn't move. And they say, well, of course, hold your arm out. And then if this was the person's head, just run it down without touching 3 inches or so away, and then away when you come back and do it again. Man, she did it like 5 or 6 times. And that little old lady went up to push his arm and it went down. And he was like, what? Like, he didn't get it. It just, and I thought, that's ridiculous. And then she did that back up, and if the water is going down and you do this, you only have to put your hand in to get a disruption and all that. But the point is I didn't, and then putting ionizing everything and going like this with 4 people around somebody, like a big stack, 8 hands for energy, because at first it was like sit there, the heavier guy, and 4 people, one under the knee and one under the arm with 2 fingers like this to pick up. Now, of course, you can't pick up somebody like that. And then they did that, put their hands over the head and lifted the person up right before my eyes. And unless they were all in cahoots together to fool me, that just got me to listen to everything else they said. And why am I where I am today is because my life actually got better over the next 1.5 or 2 years. And I just stopped doing the little exercises and things. And I'm not real proud of that. I get to that part of the story. I almost want to stop telling people about it, because like it was, and, but it came in real handy with Cheryl and her MS. And with the healing method, Jose Silva himself came from where he was to teach us. And, I was able, it has, rub your hands, there's an energy right to left, and if you do that, it goes in between. You do that, it's like a U shape. And so if you rub your hands and go like that, it's like stirring up the inner workings, And anyway, it did. It just was good for everything to do with her health and my mental well-being. And then I just stopped. So, I got to really, I'm 74. I got time to look into myself one more time, see what there is. I learned a lot tonight. It happens, Susan gets some really good guests and now has outdone herself once again. But I always feel like I'm the one benefiting. Out of the deal every time. And yeah, it's been fun for me tonight. You know?
Yeah, me too. I've learned a lot from you. Thank you, Jim. Thank you for all the hard work you've done in the world, all the ways that you've gone out there and, hit the bricks for us. We wouldn't be where we are now without the work that you've done. So please don't ever feel discouraged. Please don't ever feel like you've wasted your time, because you haven't.
No. Well, even if I feel like if I had to have a good metaphor, analogy, or whatever, it'd be like I bothered to begin building a pyramid, not knowing if I would ever see it to the top. But if somebody didn't start, and just do all the body shots that aren't going to change anything, and try to get people to understand what a self-fulfilling prophecy is when you say, well, it can't be done, so you didn't try it. And everybody else says it can't be done because they didn't try it. I want to prove it can't be done. So anytime I've ever been a failure at something, I haven't been a failure. I've been proving that it can't be done. I got to tell people, why don't you, he never answers my emails. And I go, well, send them one a week, and each time add the next date to it. By the time there's like 30 dates on it, it's going to look so bad you will get an answer. How long does that take? Yeah, I can do that. It doesn't cost any money. I don't have to get a little green card back. But somebody signed for this when it was delivered. None of that. I just type it out, boom, send it. So, and then I think, why do I have to try to teach people something that's so obvious? But it's been...
Hey, Jim, I have a question for you.
Uh-oh.
Well, so when I do research and I talk about what we're trying to do and how we're, trying to make change and get attention, somebody mentioned to me the idea of becoming a lobbyist. And I don't know what that means really. Like, I know a little bit about what it is, but I've never looked it up. I never Googled it. I kind of understand that it's people that go to the government to have their cause heard. But he said register as one. I don't even know what that would entail. Do you have any insight, Jim?
Well, yeah, what I do, and I would suggest for me, is I want to know a couple of lobbyists that I can convince to do my bidding for me through their channel. Bill Caruso being the go-to guy. Bill Caruso is so well-rounded. He's a contributor on Newsmax, and he's not a Republican. He's the guy that kind of, he's not a punching bag for him. It's like, but he's also the one that, as a lawyer for Archer and Archer, he was doing half his work for cannabis interests in Trenton. So he's also was on the staff of Congressman Rob Andrews when Rob Andrews agreed to have an appointment with Cheryl and me. We went to all 13 congressmen, and he's the only one that said okay. So we went to the office, and that's where I met Bill. And that's where he watched his boss change his mind. I was there a minute, and he went from also not being supportive to telling me on the spot I'm going to co-sponsor Barney Frank's medical cannabis bill when I get back to the office on Monday. And he gave me sent me a letter saying I'm going to send you something, and if you're going to talk to other congressmen, I'd appreciate it if you'd show them this letter. And what it is he said, I was moved to change my position on this issue due to your heartfelt discussion in my office. And he said that would help open the doors. Point is Bill Caruso watched that happen, and then of course I didn't see him for 15 years until I realized he was doing what he did now in Trenton. So yeah, if you ever have something like you think might want to be something he could put in his arsenal when he's at the right place, Thing is, see, he knows what we don't know. when something doesn't make sense about what's going on in Trenton, it's because we don't have all the pieces of the puzzle. That's not going to make sense. They have stuff that goes on that we don't know about, whack-a-mole. And yeah, they might want to help, and they might have said they want to help, but then somebody says, well, I can't pull my support from what you're doing. Well, I can't have that happen. So we don't know, but he's seen it from both sides. So that's why I trust his opinion. And I disagree with him still. So I'll go figure that out. Right?
So, Jim, does a lobbyist have to be like part of a, political party, or do they have to involve themselves in other things? I don't I don't have any experience with this.
If you're a lobbyist that wants to get paid, you probably are going to be representing a political party, though.
See, I don't. So let me ask you this, Jim. Like, if I registered as a lobbyist, but I'm not trying to get paid, is that like legitimate?
I don't know. You know what? I got some there. I can find the answer. You know how I found out? I wanted to say, I forgot. I mean, I kind of remember. I didn't look up who we were having for a guest, and I thought, all right, I'm going to give this a trial. Who's tonight's guest on the Sativa Cross podcast? Robin Swan. Oh, it's like, get out that quick. Now I know. Oh, AI. Yeah, AI. It did that quick. I'm not going to have a bug to pick with them and not get an answer. It's like right in there. This is better than a Dick Tracy two-way radio. Are you kidding me? It's awesome. So anyway, yeah, I don't know. I bet I got something more. I make notes. Oh yeah.
Hey, Robin, you are awesome, and you have
you too,
wealth
Tommy.
of knowledge. Thank you so much for sharing everything you did tonight. I'm constantly
This has been a
learn.
super blast. I appreciate it so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
I just put in our notes, y'all. I just put my email. I'd love to send y'all a box of our products, and I'll design them specifically just for you, because I kind of got an idea what Lefty would like and what Jim needs, and Tommy, I already know what you like. I could see it. So if you just reach out to that email I popped in there with an address, I will get that out in the mail for you, okay? Because I really appreciate you guys, all the work that you're doing in the world. This is an awesome podcast, Sativa Cross, and so happy that Sue asked me to come join her and all of you here.
Yeah, your story, I got to tell you, man, I would turn to her, Kathy, more than a couple times and go, she's Forrest Gump. It's like,
I wish I was as cool as Forrest
Gump. Else working for the NFL. She is Forrest Gump. You did it more than one time. Yeah. Wow.
I'm totally going to use that and throw that in people's face.
No, I mean,
my family, when they're, I know, you said something earlier about having to diminish your stories because others won't believe them. Yeah. I literally had somebody tell me in my life that I had to tone down my resume because nobody would believe it. And when they said that to me, I was like, huh? I'm from New York. What do you mean tone it down? You don't tone nothing down out here. So never dim your light for anyone. But I have had to let the information of me leak out slowly, or else it just sounds like I'm making it all up.
Okay. I've been accused by my longtime compatriot Gary Stork in Wisconsin. He says, listen, man, I got to tell you, when you 0 to 60 somebody in 2 seconds, I can see smoke coming out their ears. It's like it might be a George Carlin long sentence like that. And he's like, you can just see the train pulling away from them as they're chasing after it. They can't, And I know, what. And even now, sometimes when I say something, I hear the words. I hear how it sounds. And it's sort of like, what I believe it, I'll give you a quick one before whenever it's time that we're done. I feel it coming. Yeah. When you'll like this one too, just for fun now, Okay. When Cheryl and I went to DC doing stuff, we'd like to get a motel, if we get one, where you could, I could just carry her in from the car through a ground level door rather than in the wheelchair. 12, 15 steps and then through a lobby and all that, and when not. But one time, actually, it was with Dana Beal, who is like big on ibogaine and the psilocybin cures not work. He had our first trip to Washington. We had to share a room with 2 other people and a recreational vehicle with 7 people out in the parking lot, because, we said we were with them and parked our car somewhere else and that was ours, just to do it on a budget. And I brought in Cheryl, I carried her in, and we had a little dog who was on a voice activated leash, meaning he didn't need a leash. He'd listen to everything I said. And a page from a book lazily is blowing across the parking lot, and I'm walking perpendicularly to it, and it blows right under my right foot. I didn't even have to reach for it, but I did stamp on it like, holy crap, it wanted to be stepped on. I go in, I come back out for our luggage. It's still there. I pick it up on the way in, and I had her, Jackie Rickard died, but she told other people about it, so it's not really corroborated by them. But I said, Jim, what's that? I came in reading it, and I'm like, okay, this is a page from Martin Luther King's letter from Birmingham jail. It's the page where he said, to paraphrase it, I don't recall it, that yes. And so, well, how is it, Reverend, that you can break laws to make your point? And he wanted to answer that. So he wrote a letter that said in part that we have a moral obligation to obey just law. We likewise have a moral obligation to disobey unjust law with a willingness to accept the consequences. I mean, that was pretty much his point, Now, who's going to believe that actually happened? Well, Cheryl's in there doing, what she's doing. And so, I read it. There was 4 other people there, 2 I've never seen again. The other patient died, but she did tell everybody else, about that. And so that will never make the cut. If I was writing events, I don't tell people about that. I mean, only like now, But I'm not allowed. I mean, I don't allow myself to, because if I do that, it's not that I need people to believe that one thing. I don't want them to discredit other things or downgrade them. If I tell a story like that, it casts, I think, a shadow over other things. So I have to relegate what I allow people to hear. And I don't mind telling you all about that, because it was really interesting.
I don't think I agree with that, Jim. I think that your stories are all valuable. Every single one of them is valuable, and it's not yours to judge on how people land it. It just isn't. I mean, you have so much to share, and like I said, you have so much lived experience. That's invaluable. It's invaluable.
I was hoping you'd say something like that. I almost feel like I baited you. Just to pat myself on the back,
Well, I'm happy to be your cheerleader anytime you need it, man. I'm in your corner, because you are definitely an amazing man.
Tommy does the same thing, and but I always do want people to be very clear that my motivating factor for all of that was 100%, it was fear. I was scared, and the quick version is that really manifested itself when a woman with MS, who was far better shape than Cheryl, Dr. Kevorkian helped her about her death, helped her die, and she was, and I understood him doing it. There wasn't any right to life thing going on, and right to the end of your life legislation, like there even is in New Jersey now. But anyway, I had to read that to her because it was going to be on the news, and I did that in the morning. And when I was done, I professed to her how eternally grateful I am that she would never consider something like that without missing a beat or looking away, and we were close range. She said, "Don't assume. Don't assume."
There you go.
I have no idea what I might or might not do, and I understood it. I felt my blood flow, and I realized that it was hope. Without that, none of the rest is going to matter. And,
Right.
you know, so like my job became to do whatever it is and give her a suggestion. You want to do this, you want to do that. But it was always the same, you know, that we should wish we'd known sooner. So did I. And we shouldn't wish somebody had done something for us that we're not willing to do for others. It was like the simplest way of looking at it that there could be. Yeah, I agree with that. So, but then, you know, see, cannabis really it allows my creativity to shine through. And when you're looking for something to keep somebody in the game, you know, like alive, moving forward, you can't run out of ideas. I mean, yeah, she's lying in Congressman Bob Barr's office doorway with the message, you want to walk all over medical marijuana patients, you start with me. I mean, come on, that was like awesome, you know. I was the only one that got arrested, though, because they wised up. They knew that they didn't want her, but they really wanted me. So to arrest, cleared the hallway, came up, looked down, I'm sitting there, and Cheryl laying there, and he said, Cheryl, would you like us to help Jim get you back in the chair? Well, that wasn't what she expected. She thought we were under arrest because they said everybody that doesn't clear the hallway will be placed under arrest. Okay, that's our cue. We stay, they go. She misunderstood that we were under arrest, but she looked at me for guidance, and I started to explain, and then they shut me up quick, forcefully making it known I was not to speak. And then they asked her the same question. She looked at me the same way. I started to explain. Within seconds, they had me flipped over, one person on each heel, jogging down the hallway with me. Now, I'm looking at it from her point of view. She's all alone now. She just watched me get flipped. I mean, not in the way New Jersey means flipped, you know. It's yeah, and dragged down the hallway. And then they say, would you like us to get you back in your chair? Well, that's a no-brainer, yes. Okay, consent to leave. Uh-oh. I'm waiting for her in the paddy wagon. Guy starts the engine. I go, where's Cheryl? He goes, she's not coming along for this ride. Oh, shit. Oh, yeah. And you're going to Metro, not Capitol Police. Oh, double shit, you know. But anyway, in the end, all that worked for that. Maybe it was only that 20% extra that really, they benefit that much from it, you know. But it was always obvious afterwards. You know, when I'd walk out and we'd be leaving the premises, and I didn't care. I'd look up at there's a new sheriff in town, and her name's Cheryl. And, you know, I mean, it's Washington. People don't look at you when you say something like anywhere. But it would work, you know. So it was the hope.
So, Jim, when you got arrested and Cheryl was there by herself, what happened? Did they do something with her? Did they move her somewhere? Did they just leave her there? What happened?
No. What happened is they put her back in the chair. They didn't put the sleeping bag under her that was there. It folded in triplicate for padding. And she was like not properly in the chair, but the people that were with us were down the hallway beyond the perimeter that they were setting up. And so they called them back. And then she was without my services for about 5 hours. It was pretty painful in the end. You know, I mean, she loved it. So I mean, she had pain a lot, but yeah. And I found myself going from where Metro was back to get my belt and my shoelaces, because they were at one place when they take them, and then they transported me. And I had these dress-like pants on that I borrowed from somebody, because with the belt, the 36-inch waist was good for my 30-inch waist, you know, with a belt. Baggy pants that looked dressy or so. I thought, whatever. You know, and on the way back, I'm walking by the Supreme Court, and there's a whole class there, you know, and I'm walking right by it. and I'm holding my pants up so they don't fall down. I've had a bad day, and I look up and go, "You're doing a great job, aren't you?" You know, just letting it out. And I think I was probably the best part of that class trip when they got back. I had to look really shitty, you know. But anyway, you know, that didn't work out the same. You know, they did.
I gotta go, you guys.
Charge me.
All right, I gotta go.
So Lefty, what is it? Time yet? I can feel you.
This concludes our podcast.
Now, we do have the same conclusion for all podcasts. That right there was the late, great Wayne Barini. He had such a great radio voice, and he was a wonderful advocate. So, you know, yeah, he says that. But before we go, we just read aloud the first names of, I think it's 61 patients and advocates close to us in New Jersey at some form, you know, and that died before they were at the light at the end of their own tunnel, you know. And so much like the World Trade Center victims are read off, and I don't know if they still do ring a bell in between, but Lefty taps a little bell. And it doesn't matter. I mean, I personally knew probably half. And yet it's like just being reminded, and one hits you different each time, and it keeps it real. So anyway, it's time. Oh yeah, you got to thank people.
Well, Mad Hatter, are we thanking them still? Or are they on the list?
Both, I guess. They were on the list. They were being thanked, and then they got onto the list because the Mad Hatter died. the dispensary that got closed down. You know, so you should still thank
CMMNJ. Thank you, UFCW, Arlo Glass, OprahMachine.com, and SativaCross.org. And Arlo Glass made these cool hats.
Nice. I like it. Too bad you can't actually show it without that screen, though. No, there you go. That's got it all.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It got the cross joint. I looked that up to see what that was called. It was pretty much the cross.
Hey, guys, before you get off of here, I just want to let you know I had extensive communication with Tricia Sheffield, who is the mother to Connor Sheffield, who did Connor's Courage. That's where I stood up at the Senate to talk to them about the bill, about cannabis, and, of course, referenced Sativa Cross at the end. Specifically, I said, you know, I thank you to Sativa Cross. Ignorance is no excuse, and cannabis saves lives. And that was like the last thing I said. Well, I made a lot of contacts doing that, and I made contacts at the comptroller's office. I made contacts with a couple of different people in Maryland as well, who I'm going to ask, like I'm going one to the other, so I can learn from them and go up to, I think one of them is the retired comptroller. I could reach out to him for help, which would be cool. And my local ones, like running for the state, and they could, you know, and then the one in DC as well. So he's just got promoted recently. I'm going to be reaching out to all of these people. I want you guys to know that for me, like if I became like a registered agent or whatever to be able to go in there, I think that gives me more like leeway to just get in there, because I don't care. I just want you guys to be able to grow weed at home. That's it. I'm working on it. Okay. I want you guys to know that I love you and I'm doing the best that I can. It's not going to be a quick process, but I'm going to try. Okay.
That's the most important part. When you know it's not going to be a quick process and you don't let that deter you, that's where 9 out of 10 people don't get the instant gratification in the beginning. As a matter of fact, you get the opposite, you know, until you gain traction. So yeah, it takes that kind of attitude to get started, because if I got started on shit that I'm starting on now 3 years ago, 2 years ago, maybe we would have been done. And I know I shouldn't be like that. Okay, good. I'm learning.
Jim, I just ask that you keep talking, man. Jim, every time you talk, I learn. You talk and I learn, dude. Like one of the things that I've done in the community is whatever my job was, like I've acted as a conduit, the community relations liaison. So my goal was to try to put people together. That's how I ended up getting to the Senate. And when we were going for home grow in Maryland, like that's when I went down to the comptroller's office. I sat down with them. They invited us down and like took us out to lunch. And I still know all of these people and I created, good relationships with them. So I'm going to use that to power what we're doing so that we can get home grow in the people's house, however it has to go down, for New Jersey. You guys saved my life, man. And I'm going to do everything I can.
And I don't know if you already gave yourself enough credit for this, but what you did was you got prepared to go into the door that you didn't know could be opened or not, for sure. But you got ready for it. You went in prepared. You didn't get in the comptroller's office and go, so let me see, what am I going to say? You knew what you were going to say when you went in there, and you knew it long before that. You didn't just look it up that day. And I've seen people get access with a video camera and have somebody handle them because they were not ready. You know what I mean? They'd get them directed over here, and I could see it. I'm like, my God, you weren't ready. And this is like was in Wisconsin, and so it didn't affect me here. But when I saw it, I learned from other people's mistakes, and then they're reaffirmed by people's successes like yours.
I think it's any success that comes from this is ours. And all of those people that helped me down here, that helped me lobby, it's like you said, these people, they need to be clear, they need to be concise, and you need to know what you're going to talk about when you go in there. So every time I was going to sit down with someone, I knew exactly what I was going to say. I did the research, I found out who they were, blah, 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 blah. So I sat down knowing that their time is limited. I want to get through this so that I can show them respect, still make some kind of human connection, you know what I mean? Because you got to be human and personable at some point, but getting to the bullet points and showing them what they want to see. That's how they were able to get it in front of other people and share the information. So it was very cool. Because
Lefty can tell you that back in the beginning of our podcast at the State House, I was all about, what's that bill number? No, you need to know the bill number of what you're talking about. No, you need to know it, not remember it. That's going to affect people. In other words, so there's other bills. There's one in the Assembly. There's one in the Senate. Oh, this one here, that could be for extraneous issues having to do with medical cannabis. Got to know the bill numbers. And because if you do that, I mean, right now we have a bill. It's called S-1758 because every 2 years it gets a new number. It's the same exact bill, automatically posted on the first day of the new session, and then until it doesn't get a hearing at the end of that session, automatically posted. So what we had was in the beginning, it was at the end of a session, it was S-3420. The next year it was S-342. The last session, it was 1393, and now it's 1758. See, I stuttered then. I needed to boom, 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 and I actually had to think. So I got to take my own advice, because when I'm telling people that, and I roll them off like it's lyrics to a song I love or something, it says I've been doing this for a while. Don't fuck with me.
You're a badass, Jim. I knew that from the day I met you.
I'm a mad ass anyway. I'm angry.
Well, listen, man, just keep sharing if you don't mind. If you guys keep doing this, I'm going to keep listening. I've been listening the whole time. I don't always get on. But
this concludes our podcast.
All right, I'm going to get off here. Lefty, thank you so much for having me on and making this happen. Jim, thank you for everything. I love you guys. All right, cannabis saves lives. Keep across. Ignorance, no excuse. Peace.
Okay, we don't need to do this, dude. Come on, nobody's here.
Cheryl Miller, Sabina, Diane, Gracie, Cindy Mae, Marie, Jack, Joan, Randy, Polly, Bill, Chad, Jeremy, Colette, Matt, Troy, Russ, Roger, Jay, Ella, Hattie, Jackie, Anthony, Jake, Armando, Felicia, Lynn, Dan, Sean, Joyce, Lori, Frank, Brian, Flo, Carl, Thorne, Frank, Lorraine, Terry, Charlotte, Cher, Jaybird, Michael, Marley, Colette, Brendan, Red, Rico, Lulu, Becky, Lawanda, Chip, Paul, Marcus, Lisa, Gary, Julia, Wayne, Waxy, Joe Marie, Paul, Jeff. Good night, Jim. Good night, everybody out there listening. Good night, Kathy. And everybody's gone. It's just us three. Okay, well.
Yeah, it's just us.
They went with songs to the battle. They were young, straight of limb, true of eye, steady and aglow. They were staunch to the end, against odds uncounted. They fell with their faces to the foe. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, man. Thanks for doing this.
See ya.